We're counting down the 10 California towns where home prices are so low, you'll think it's a scam. From communities listing homes for less than a quarter of the state's $830,000 average to towns where the price tag hides surprising trade-offs, this countdown exposes the real reasons behind those too-good-to-be-true deals. Why are these places so cheap, and what risks are buyers taking on? Let's find out, starting with number 10. Glenn County stands out as the first stop in the countdown, with a median home price of $349,779, less than half the California average. That price gap grabs attention, but the story behind it is more complicated than a simple bargain. Glenn sits in the heart of the Central Valley, where agriculture drives the economy and the Sacramento River shapes daily life. The county's floodplain location means large swaths of land are mapped as high risk for flooding, despite recent improvements like the Hamilton City Setback Levy. In 2022 and 2023, a series of powerful storms forced emergency sandbag operations and left roads underwater, underscoring the ongoing vulnerability. According to Redfin and local MLS data, homes here linger on the market for 50 to 70 days, about 3 times longer than the state average. As one state market analyst explains, the price gap is real, but so are the risks. Buyers need to understand what they're trading for that affordability. In Glenn County, the low sticker price comes bundled with flood risk, slow job growth, and a buyer pool that thins out fast once you leave the main highway. Imperial County sits at the far southeastern edge of California, where the median home price hovers around $359,500. Unusually low for Southern California. The region's affordability draws attention, but the real story lies beneath the surface. Nearly every aspect of life here depends on water from the Colorado River, managed by the Imperial Irrigation District. In recent years, mounting drought and interstate negotiations have put that supply under pressure. While no official record confirms a 10% cut in 2023, local growers and planners have sounded alarms about shrinking allocations and the uncertainty they bring. A planning director in Calipatria described the mood at city meetings as anxious and pessimistic, with farmers pausing expansion plans and developers hesitating to break ground. Permit activity has slowed, and new home construction lags behind the rest of Southern California. Even as prices seem inviting, the threat of future water restrictions hangs over the market. In Imperial County, the cost of a home is only part of the equation. Resource dependency shapes every decision, and the risk of sudden policy change can stall both optimism and investment. Lassen County's housing market carries a warning that goes far beyond price. The median home costs about $226,500 here, officially the lowest in California. But in 2020, the only hospital in Susanville closed its doors after bankruptcy, leaving more than 30,000 residents without local emergency care. Since then, the nearest hospital is across the state line in Reno, a drive that can stretch to nearly 2 hours in winter. County supervisors have called it a public health crisis, noting that even basic emergencies now require ambulance rides or airlifts, sometimes at staggering personal cost. Real estate listings reflect the fallout. The average home sits unsold for more than 210 days, with buyers wary of the service gap. Local officials say the community has lost more than just a hospital. It's lost a sense of security. For anyone attracted by the low sticker price, the real cost may be measured in lost minutes when it matters most. In Lassen, the risk isn't just economic, it's life or death. Maricopa, California sits at the edge of Kern County's oil fields, its fortunes tied for decades to the rise and fall of a single industry. The median home price here is about $171,000, staggeringly low for California, but the story behind that number is written in the empty storefronts and shrinking classrooms. Since 2015, school enrollment in Maricopa has dropped by 18%, a sign of families leaving as oil jobs disappear and new industries fail to take root. The last oil boom faded years ago, leaving behind a patchwork of aging infrastructure and a job market that struggles to support steady growth. Many homes are advertised online with promises like "own in California for under $800 a month," pushed by out-of-state sellers on social media. State records show a steady stream of consumer complaints about misleading ads, though few have resulted in formal action. For buyers lured by the price, the real trade-off is economic fragility, a community where opportunity is often as patchy as the internet signal and where the next downturn could hit hard. In Maricopa, the bargain is real, but so is the risk that comes from betting on a town still searching for its next chapter. Bieber, California sits deep in the Shasta region, where the landscape stretches wide, but the population keeps shrinking. The town's median home price, about $157,000 in 2025, stands out in a state where the average is more than 5 times higher. But the number on the listing tells only part of the story. Over the past decade, census data shows a steady decline in residents, with more people leaving than arriving and the local school enrollment dropping year after year. Many of the homes here date back to the 1960s and 70s, with only a handful of new builds in recent years. Storefronts that once served a growing community now sit empty, and the nearest full-service grocery is more than 30 miles away. For sale signs linger in front yards as buyers weigh the realities: limited jobs, aging infrastructure, and the kind of social isolation that comes with a shrinking town. In Bieber, low prices are less about hidden opportunity and more about falling demand, where affordability comes at the cost of a dwindling community and the promise of neighbors who may not be around tomorrow. Alturas sits on the high plains of Maricopa County, where the median home price hovers around $165,000, making it one of the most affordable towns in California. But for residents, the low price tag can hide costs that don't show up on any real estate listing. In early 2025, a retired teacher suffered a heart attack at home in Alturas. The local Modoc Medical Center, like many rural hospitals, wasn't equipped to handle cardiac emergencies. Paramedics arranged for an air ambulance to Redding, 130 miles away, the nearest hospital with a cardiac unit. The flight lasted less than an hour, but the bill arrived weeks later. More than $80,000, most of it not covered by insurance. Family members launched a GoFundMe campaign, and the story made its way into County Health Board minutes as a warning about the risks of rural isolation. Air ambulance companies serving this region confirmed that flights from Alturas routinely cost between $30,000 and $90,000, depending on distance and provider. For many, the true price of an affordable home here is measured in access to care and the financial shock that can follow a medical emergency. In Alturas, the distance to the nearest specialist isn't just a number on a map. It's a reality that can turn a low-cost dream into a life-altering debt, all in the time it takes for a helicopter to clear the sagebrush and head south. Boron, California sits on the edge of the Mojave Desert, where the median home sells for about $173,000, less than the price of a new condo in most California cities. For the Ortega family, the dream of affordable homeownership became reality in 2023 when they closed on a modest 3-bedroom house. But what looked like a financial win quickly revealed a different side. Within months, their private well failed, leaving them without water and facing a $12,000 repair bill, money they hadn't budgeted for, and a problem that public utilities in bigger cities would normally handle. The family story doesn't stop there. With few local jobs, Mr. Ortega drives 60 miles each way to Mojave for work, a daily round trip that eats into both time and savings. School records show their children's bus ride doubled in length after the move, turning simple routines into logistical puzzles. Insurance, too, became a moving target. After State Farm stopped writing new policies in Boron's zip code, the Ortegas saw their premium jump by nearly 90%. Local Facebook groups fill with similar stories. Neighbors comparing notes on repair costs, sharing tips for navigating the state's fair plan, and warning newcomers about the realities behind the low sticker price. In Boron, the hidden costs aren't just a footnote, they're a defining part of the experience. For families drawn by the promise of a bargain, the math only works if you're ready for surprises that don't show up in the listing. Earp, California sits along the Colorado River in one of the most remote corners of San Bernardino County. The median home price here is about $186,000, less than a quarter of the state average. But the numbers alone don't tell the whole story. In Earp, the typical household brings in just $35,000 a year, a figure that ranks among the lowest in all of California. The heat is relentless, with summer temperatures regularly soaring above 110 degrees. Jobs are scarce, and most residents rely on seasonal work, government checks, or drive long distances for employment. Grocery stores, medical clinics, and basic services are few and far between. The nearest full-service hospital is more than an hour away, and cell service can be spotty outside the main highway. For families considering a move, the promise of a sub-$200,000 home comes with a trade-off: a fragile local economy, limited opportunities, and a real risk that the home will be hard to sell later. Real estate agents report that houses can sit on the market for months, sometimes longer, as buyers weigh the risks and the realities of life in such an isolated place. Charts tracking income against home prices in Earp reveal a stark disconnect. The affordability looks tempting, but the demand side is weak. There simply aren't enough buyers with steady income to support a healthy housing market. For anyone wondering if the low price is too good to be true, the answer lies in the numbers. In Earp, the price reflects not just the property, but the challenges of living at the edge of California's economic map. Weldon, California draws attention for its $181,000 median home price. Numbers that look almost fictional in a state where most buyers expect to pay 4 or 5 times more. But Weldon's story is less about a hidden bargain and more about the risks that come with remote living and aggressive marketing. Kern County's Mountain Valley terrain isolates Weldon from major job centers, leaving residents with multi-hour commutes or few local options for steady work. School enrollment has trended downward, and the town's limited amenities mean basic errands can turn into day-long trips. In recent years, a new pattern has emerged. Out-of-state LLCs and investment groups have flooded social media with glossy ads promising California homes for less than $900 a month. The volume of these listings spiked between 2022 and 2025, with some buyers reporting high-pressure sales tactics and misleading claims about property condition and financing. State consumer protection agencies have logged a steady stream of complaints, mostly about undisclosed repair needs or bait-and-switch pricing, but few have led to formal enforcement. A consumer protection lawyer specializing in real estate fraud warns that Weldon has become a magnet for predatory listing practices. When you see a deal that looks too good to be true, especially in a remote town, it often is, she explains. Her checklist for buyers includes verify the seller's identity, demand a full inspection, and never wire funds before confirming ownership. Weldon's low prices may tempt bargain hunters, but the real risk is falling for a pitch that leaves buyers stranded with a property that's harder to sell, costlier to maintain, and lonelier than the ad ever mentioned. In Weldon, the greatest danger isn't just remoteness, it's the ease with which slick marketing can turn isolation into a costly mistake. Trinity County's promise of affordable homeownership conceals a crisis that few buyers see coming. The median home price here is about $178,000, but the true cost often arrives in the mail, wrapped in insurance, non-renewal notices, and bills that can rival mortgage payments. In 2022, a lightning-sparked wildfire tore through the county, destroying more than 40 homes and causing over $40 million in losses. Within months, major insurers began pulling out, sending non-renewal letters to residents from Weaverville to Hayfork. By early 2025, more than a quarter of Trinity homeowners had been forced onto California's Fair Plan, the state's last resort insurance option. The numbers tell the story. Fair Plan enrollment in Trinity County has more than doubled since 2020, with average annual premiums now reaching $4,700. Sometimes higher if a home sits near the forest edge or lacks modern fire defenses. For many families, the insurance bill alone eats up what little savings the low sticker price once promised. A local insurance agent describes the chaos. I've had over 100 households in the past year scrambling to patch together coverage. Even a minor fire history on a property can mean an automatic denial. Regulators in Sacramento acknowledge the problem but admit the solutions are limited. Catastrophe models used by insurers are recalibrated each year, and as wildfire risk climbs, so do premiums and policy restrictions. The state's own data shows that in the hardest-hit zip codes, fewer than half of private market policies include full fire, liability, and contents coverage. Most Fair Plan policies are fire-only, forcing buyers to pay for costly supplemental coverage if they want real protection. For Trinity County, the bargain of a cheap home has become a gamble against disaster. The risk isn't just about losing a house, it's about the growing possibility that insurance will be unaffordable or unavailable when it's needed most. The surge in Fair Plan enrollment stands as a warning. Here, the low price is inseparable from the threat of catastrophe. In Trinity, the question isn't whether you can afford to buy, it's whether you can afford to stay insured. From Glenn County's agricultural bargains to Trinity's wildfire insurance dead zone, our countdown has revealed that California's lowest home prices come with some of the state's steepest hidden costs. Across all 10 entries, one pattern stands out. The farther you get from the state's urban core, the cheaper the home, yet the greater the trade-offs. Whether it's the hospital desert in Lassen, the aggressive marketing in Weldon, or Earp's poverty-priced isolation, each town on this list proves that price tags well below California's $830,000 median are never the whole story. The most shocking entries, like Trinity County, where near uninsurability and wildfire risk drive prices to extremes, show that what looks like a dream deal may be a risky gamble. Ultimately, these towns remind us that in California's housing market, affordability often signals a deeper cost. The real lesson: if a home price sounds too good to be true, dig deeper, because in these corners of California, the fine print can define your future.